I call this meeting to order on July 12th, 2022, time 1:12 p.m. Welcome everyone this afternoon to the Commission for Historical and Agricultural Preservation. At this time, we want to see if we have a quorum. Any absences? Okay.
It's like, yeah.
Okay. And what I would like to do now is introduce myself and then the rest of the group. And of course, staff will introduce themselves. My name is Harry Spikes, Chairman, CHAP.
I'm Merrick Holcomb, the Executive Director of CHAP.
I'm Garrett Power, a representative of the Baltimore City Historical Society.
Nicole Battle, nonprofit developer. Oh, sorry. Nicole Battle, nonprofit developer.
John Bullock, representing Baltimore City Council.
Kate Edwards, Deputy Commissioner for DHCD.
Gary Rodwell, Coppin Heights Community Development Corporation and the Baltimore Heritage.
Jill Dennis, representing the residential real estate community.
Ann Powell, representing the Greater Baltimore Committee.
Peter Morrill, representing Preservation Maryland.
Catherine Good.
Capalan, Commissioner.
Staff.
I'm Stacey Montgomery, this is CHAP staff.
Tyree Charles, CHAP staff.
Eddie Leon, CHAP staff.
Thank you. Welcome to all who are in attendance with us today. The CHAP mission is to enhance and promote the cultural and economy of Baltimore through the preservation of buildings, structures, sites, and neighborhoods that have aesthetic, historic, and agricultural value. CHAP's goals include preserving historic, agricultural, and monuments, reclaiming broken neighborhoods, preventing demolition by neglect, and integrating our city's past into its future. We have a few housekeeping items. If you came through the front, which most of you did, we have an agenda outside. We also have a sign-in sheet if you'd like to speak. When we have our sign-in sheet, that allows us to recognize you and you're able to come up and speak. We usually give people 2 to 4 minutes to speak. I usually give a warning just by holding the gavel up. I do not knock it down. That's like a 1-minute warning for people to speak. But after that, you come to the podium, and if so, the commissioners may ask you questions. So just want to give you a couple of housekeeping rules. If you have not signed the sheet, please feel free to sign outside. Let us now move to the minutes. I would like to make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes from our June meeting that we had.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Are there any corrections or additions that need to be made to those meeting minutes from last month? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Due process and review procedures. CHAP reviews applications in conjunction with the building permit process of the permit section of the Department of Housing and Community Development. If a building permit application is filed prior to historic design review, the application is placed on hold pending completion of CHAP review process. The review process is completed by issuing an authorization to proceed. The historic design review process is in addition to other applicable laws and regulations and does not diminish the force of urban renewal plans, building codes, zoning codes, etc. It is the applicant's responsibility to comply with all the applicable laws, regulations, and codes. Proposed projects are reviewed prior to issuing a building permit. Applications must comply with the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Design Guidelines and planning and executing historical and agricultural character of the structure in the immediate area. Applicants will need to clearly explain how their project complies with design guidelines. Minor projects. In order to expedite the application process, the Commission has delegated review authority to the Executive Director for cases involving minor work. Minor projects must not significantly change the overall appearance or remove the significant undamaged historic fabric. All minor work must clearly meet the design guidelines. Major work. Major projects may change the overall character, appearance, and integrity of the structure. Substantial building alterations, demolitions, additions, and new constructions are considered major projects and are reviewed at a public hearing. Interested parties should request a pre-development meeting in the planning department to begin the review process. An electronic version of all materials must be submitted to the CHAP staff at least 25 calendar days prior to the public hearing date. If the application is complete, the project shall be scheduled for a public hearing. CHAP hearings. At the public hearing, CHAP staff presents recommendations to the commission regarding the projects. Following the staff's presentation, the application may make a presentation to the commission. Interested parties, including neighborhood associations, have the opportunity to provide public testimony. Following testimony, the commission renders a decision on the application at the public hearing. Persons aggrieved by the decision of the commission may seek judicial and appellate review in accordance with the Baltimore City Code. After an authorization to proceed is issued, the applicant may obtain a building permit. The commission's process is impartial, and staff's comments are evidence that assist the commission in rendering decisions. I would now like to make a motion to approve the final agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let us begin. We have, commissioners in front of, we have a consent agenda, the 3 items on the agenda. Eddie, thank you, sir. If are there any questions on the consent agenda at all? If none, may I make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will now move to our regular agenda, which is 30 Poultry, excuse me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Poultry Street, Federal Hill Historic District, the request concept review, construction 2-story rear addition. The applicant is Zachary Blanchard, and the staff is Mr. Tyree Trellis.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Nice to see everyone here today. So today we are reviewing a concept review for 30 Pulteney Street. The request is to construct a 2-story, second-story rear addition. The applicant is Zachary Blanchard. Staff member is Tariq Sharp. Here's the current site conditions of 30 Pulteney Street, an alley street within Federal Hill with the cross street market to its south. Here's a vicinity map of where 30 Pulteney Street lies within Federal Hill, with Sharp Leyden Hall to the west and Otterbein to the northwest. Here's a top view of 30 Pulteney Street. As you can see, it's an interior row house unit. It is landlocked. It's accessed through the rear by a pedestrian alley. Here are the historic Sanborn maps of 30 Pulteney Street, even showing the rear additions as well. Great. Here's the current site plan provided by the applicant, showing the current site conditions and the proposal of the second-story rear addition and its boundaries and its footprint. Here are the elevations. And here are the floor plans of the proposal of the second-story rear addition. All right, as far as the background, this is the first application to CHAP for this property since Federal Hill became a CHAP district in 2017. All right, so the applicant applied for permits COM 2022-01027 and BMZ 22-00171 for the construction of a 2-story addition on April 4th, 2022. On the 15th of May, the applicant submitted an ATP application to the Federal Hill ARC, Fran Landolph then later provided the application to staff. On the 7th of June, the BMZA postponed their hearing, their zoning hearing, for the construction of an addition so that CHAP would have an opportunity to review the proposal first. The BMZA recommended the disapproval of this application because the Commission for Historical Preservation has not approved an authorization to proceed for the proposed building. So the proposal today is a request for the construction of a rear addition which extends the footprint of the existing row house to the rear of the lot. The addition's footprint is 11 feet, 11 inches in length, and 13 feet and 9 inches in width. The second floor of the addition is wider than the first floor, so the overhanging portion of the second floor addition will be supported by two pressure-treated wood posts. The addition will have two new 1/1 double-hung vinyl windows and will be clad in a smooth finish hardy plank lap siding. The proposal also includes a new roof extension, which will be added to the existing roofing structure to cover the proposed rear second floor addition. Staff applied the following guidelines from the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Design Guidelines in order to review this property. 1.18, alterations and additions. The design is in a contemporary style, and the addition is at the rear. The addition is not visible from Pulteney Street and East Hamburg Street due to the property being landlocked by adjacent properties. Therefore, the addition meets the design guidelines. 2.1, guiding principles for new design. The addition does not mimic a historic style. Rather, it is a contemporary addition that is compatible with the character of the historic district. Therefore, the proposal meets the design guidelines. 2.2, site design. This plan meets the guidelines. 2.3, scale and form. There are a variety of houses on this block that are 2- and 3-story side gabled row houses, alongside 2- and 3-story flat roof row houses. The addition only increases the height and width of the building in the rear where it is not visible from the street. Therefore, the proposal meets the guidelines. 2.45, roofs. The roof at the second floor addition is a half-gabled extension. This is compatible to roof forms in the neighborhood and meets the design guidelines. 2.51, doors and windows. The windows at the rear of the 2-story addition are 1/1 double-hung vinyl windows. This is a contemporary treatment to the contemporary addition. Therefore, the design meets the guidelines. 2.52, materials. The proposed cladding for the addition is a smooth finish hardy plank lap siding, which is compatible with the house and surrounding properties within the neighborhood. This material meets the guidelines. The Federal Hill Architectural Review Committee submitted comments in support of the design via email. The proposed 2-story addition meets the CHAP design guidelines for new construction due to its contemporary design and its lack of visibility from the street. The proposed addition meets setback requirements, design and material requirements. Staff recommends approval of the rear 2-story addition as the design meets the CHAP design guidelines. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from the commissioners, or any slides that you would like to see?
It's just a question. I'm just curious, oh, thank you, microphones. The need for the kind of cantilevered portion, is it just trying to meet a certain amount of square feet, or is there a certain reason why the second floor is gonna be bigger than the first floor?
I am not quite sure. Is the applicant here, present, Zachary Blanchard? No, he is not.
Okay.
So I do not know why they chose to cantilever the second floor.
I would make a motion to concur with staff's recommendation and approve the proposed addition.
Commissioner Peter, thank you, sir.
I'll second. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tariq, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next on our agenda, we have 1017 East Baltimore Street, Jonestown Historic District. The request, add new dormers on the fourth story and cover roof in standing seam metal. Forgive me if I don't pronounce the name right. The applicant is Roselli Reinhardt, and staff once again is Mr. Tariq.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we have a request for a concept review to add 4 new dormers on the 4th story and cover the roof in a standing seam metal. The address is 1017 East Baltimore Street in the Jonestown Historic District. The staff member is myself, Tariq Charluz. The applicant is Ms. Rosalie Reinhardt. The owners are the House of Freedom Incorporated. Here is a site map of the location, 1017 East Baltimore Street in the Jonestown Historic District. Here is a vicinity map of the Jonestown Historic District, which lies in the Jonestown Historic District. Here is an aerial view from the north. As you can see, there's a mansard roof finished in asphalt shingles. Here is a east view, south, west, and the top view. Here's an image of the Presbyterian eye, ear, and throat of the charity hospital that was historically there in the past, as this building is now being reused by the House of Freedom. Here is a historic photo of the ornate historical dormers that were replaced in around the 1970s. This photo was provided by the applicant. The source is unknown. Here's the current configuration of the mansard roof with the absence of the 4 historic dormers. The current roof is finished with an asphalt shingle. With asphalt shingles, of course. Here's a precedent of how the dormers and the standing seam metal roof would look like if constructed. This is a precedent from Union Square provided by the applicant. The original source is unknown. Here is 1017 East Baltimore Street in 1890 on a Sanborn map. From the 1901-1902 Sanborn map. Here's another view from the 1914-1951 map. As you can see, it has encountered a lot of changes over the time. And here it is again in the 1953, updated in 1971 Sanborn map. All right. Here's the cover page provided by the applicant, the first floor plan, second floor plan, third floor plan, and the fourth floor plan where the historic dormers will be placed. And these are existing conditions. Here's the proposed front elevation and a wall section showing the cornice. So here you can see the 4 dormers being constructed in a contemporary style, finished in a standing seam metal at the roof. Here is the cornice detail. The cornice is finished on both ends by two large corbels. As you can see, the corbel is in the middle detail, bottom middle detail. Those corbels are historic. Anyways, here are the interior elevations of how the offices will look after the dormers are added. Some door schedules. Here's a cornice detail, another cornice detail as well. And here are the details for the standing seam metal. They're choosing the middle one, pack 150, 180. For the background, there has been only one recent application to CHAP for work on this building. In January of 2020, in January of 2020, the commission reviewed and approved a proposal to install a freestanding sign and a planter near the entry of the building. For the proposal, the applicant proposes to add 4 contemporary dormers at the historic locations, which will have paired aluminum windows and composite trim, to replace the existing asphalt shingles on the mansard roof with standing seam metal roofing, and to replace the metal cornice with a fiberglass cornice to match the existing. Staff applied the following sections of the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Guidelines: 1.4 metals and 1.8 roofing and gutters. The existing cornice is metal and features decorative caps at the ends of the building, or corbels. The proposal is to replace this cornice with a fiberglass cornice that replicates the existing cornice. More detail on the cornice replacement is required, specifically the condition of the existing cornice that warrants replacement and about the design of the proposed replacement cornice details, such as decorative end caps, in order to determine if this item of the proposal meets the guidelines. 1.8 roofing and gutters. With the exception of the proposed standing seam metal roofing, the proposal meets this guideline. 1.82 roof replacement. The roof was historically clad with roofing slates and is currently clad with 3-tab asphalt shingles. Roofing slate, faux slate, or asphalt shingles designed to look like slate could meet the design guidelines for replacement roofing. There is no historic precedent for standing seam metal roof on this property. 1.84 roof construction. The proposal meets this guideline. The applicant provided a historic photograph that shows elaborate dormers that were removed around 1974. The reconstruction of those specific dormers would be challenging. The applicant is proposing to construct simple dormers with paired aluminum 1/1 windows that reflect the window size and location of the historic dormers. Staff finds that the proposed dormers are compatible and meets the guidelines. 1.89 dormers. The proposal meets this guideline. The applicant provided a historic photograph that shows elaborate dormers that were removed around 1974. For neighborhood comments, the Jonestown Planning Council has been notified of this project. To date, CHAP staff has not received a response. In reviewing this application in relation to CHAP design guidelines, the majority of the proposal generally meets the guidelines. However, some additional details are required to fully meet the guidelines. The proposed dormers meet the guidelines as they were historically dormers on the fourth story. However, they were highly ornamental and could not be easily replicated. For that reason, the new simple dormers in the same size and location meets the guidelines. The proposed standing seam metal roofing doesn't fully meet the CHAP design guidelines, as well as other materials that better replicate the shape, color, and texture of the historic slate roof that is no longer existing. The proposed fiberglass cornice may meet the design guidelines, provided that it can properly replicate the historic cornice, replicate the existing cornice, and existing cornice is deteriorated beyond repair. Staff recommends concept approval of this proposal with the final details to return to staff with the following conditions. The applicant used asphalt shingles to imitate slate in appearance rather than standing seam metal on the new roof. And 2, the applicant provides more documentation that the existing cornice is deteriorated beyond repair and more details about the proposed fiberglass cornice and its ability to replicate the existing cornice details, like the end caps. Any questions from the commissioners?
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Tariq?
I have one, which is, I understand the recommendation for asphalt roofing. Is there a reason why a high-quality slate replication could be considered or not considered? I don't know if there's something in the guidelines that precludes it. Just as another option.
You're asking if it's a possibility that slate return to the mansard roof?
No, not slate, but a replication.
Yes,
Just to give the applicant another option.
that is what we're requesting, return to staff.
Okay, because you specifically said asphalt, I was just trying to give them a little more leeway for considerations.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So yes, it does not have to be asphalt. They can explore new materials. CHAP opens and welcomes new materials.
Any additional questions for Mr. Tariq, commissioners? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Well, we're going to create a motion on the floor. These are the recommendations with the conditions in 1 and 2. Tariq, do you have anything?
We do have testimony. The applicant is present.
Oh, okay. I would have recognized we had you guys saying no on testifying.
I changed it.
Well, by all means, come forth. By all means, come on. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you. All right. My name is Rosalie Reinhardt. I'm with Collimore Architects. I wanted to comment about the cornice. That was an alternate that, if the budget can afford it, we'd like to improve it. It is not metal and it is not historic existing. The existing cornice, it appears to be 1 by 12 with plywood on the underside, and it has some 20, 30-year-old ivy residue visible on it. So it's not the greatest looking. We did get a drone up to get some images so that we could see what we were dealing with, and we want to consider it as an option. I picked a minimal cornice to replace it, something that would improve the look than what is there now. Okay.
And for the record, could you pronounce your name for me?
Rosalie Reinhardt.
Rosalie Reinhardt. Thank you, Ms.
Yes.
Rosalie Reinhardt. Do we have any questions for Ms. Reinhardt from the commissioners?
I have one, which is, and I was trying to go back in the application and look, are any of the historic photographs a quality enough that you can kind of see the cornice? Can you
The
flip back?
photograph that I received that from Helping Out Mission, from Tom, who's here with me. That's the only photograph that we have of the building.
So the proposed cornice design is kind of roughly based on what you can see, it looks like.
It's not
Kinda
quite.
similar,
So
but-
the cornice that is directly below the dormers, it doesn't exist the way it does in that image. In the image, it goes across and then it steps out and around the build-out. The existing one goes straight across. And it is just painted wood. And you may be able to zoom into that. It's barely painted wood, yeah.
Is it a cornice or is it a internal gutter? Because it looks like
We-
a gutter.
It does, and that's what we thought it might be, but when we got the images from the drone, it shows there's a small gutter that sits on top of it.
Okay, interesting.
And that's what you all are proposing to go back with the gutter sitting on top, I think I saw in your section.
We're working through that.
Okay.
We're working through that.
Okay.
We did, we have an idea of what replacing the cornice might cost us. So that is similar, except I think the gutter that's there is smaller, so we'll make sure that it's the right, proper size for the mansard roof. And if it's replaced, it possibly could look very much like that, with the windows directly starting above the gutter.
I have one final clarification. Is the cornice an alternate? And if it is not incorporated into the design, what is going to happen? I heard I kept hearing the word
Yes.
alternate, which to me is add alternate. If the project can financially afford it, it'll be there. And
If it is an alternate, it's a proposed. If HUM doesn't want to do the cornice, we would leave the existing, and we would just do the dormers.
It
And then
would,
the-
it
I
would
imagine the
presumably
cornice
be
would be painted.
repainted or something like that.
Pardon me?
It would just be repainted or something
Yes,
in place.
yes, yes, just to make it look nicer.
I just have one question. So just to be clear, cornice, gutter will be on top, am I correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, just
That is
making,
the
okay.
way it is existing,
Okay,
and it's set up for that already. So for us to take off the wood that's on the outside and work with the framing that's there to put on the new cornice would be the least impact to the building, to the brick structure.
okay, thank you. Are there any
There-
other questions? I'm sorry. From the commissioners? Okay, thank you for sharing, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That's all.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, got you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, you good, Terry? Okay, thank you. Commissioners, at this point, we have our recommendations for 1017 East Baltimore Street. You see them on the prompter. Do we have any questions before we vote?
Oh, well, we need to officially make the motion.
No, I'm just going to make sure there are any questions before we
I
do
think we
that.
should,
just the one question I had for deliberation was, clearly the focus, this is a very cost-conscientious project, but I just wondered if, I understand that the original dormers were quite ornate, but one of the things that when you stand back and you look at the original dormers, one thing that does stand out is that they were different from one another, and most importantly, that the entry was a larger dormer, like that. I just didn't know if we wanted to discuss like whether there should be any hierarchy in the dormers or talk about that. That was it.
I was also actually gonna bring up the same thing, and who knows why they did two of them as circles and one as a triangle. That's not what I'm concerned about, but I do agree that it's, I think I'd prefer to have something that makes the dormer above the entry stand out a little bit more. I agree with that comment. I guess my other thing would be, and I think that this could still be figured out at a staff level, is just the applicant mentioned some drone images that they have that can be submitted to staff to look at that area of the building for conditions and to show the existing odd configuration of the gutter sitting on top of the cornice. I absolutely believe you. It's just kind of strange. So just kind of verifying how that works.
Well, the internal gutter failed.
And someone just went
on
like,
top. It's obvious.
So weird.
So a few comments I had, clearly they're trying to make this building read like a row of eclectic row houses when they're building with all the different variations. I think if we're going with the more contemporary dormer look, I kind of prefer them being together because they're carrying masonry up through there, and that's just not going to happen.
Right.
So I'm a little bit less concerned about that. I totally agree with staff's recommendation to look at alternate roofing materials, whether it be asphalt or slate or a faux slate. For the cornice, clearly the one that's there is not historic. It's not returning around the projections like the original one did. So I don't have any lost sleep over that going away. On the new one, I tend to like the profile you picked, but we're working on there. I really prefer not to see the gutter sitting on top of it. It would be better to see that incorporated into the corners, but again, that's something that could be handled at staff level. So overall, I think I would be in support of staff's recommendations for this project.
Can you go back to the photo of the existing structure, please?
The applicant has a photo of the existing cornice condition.
That's fine. That's fine. If you'd like to share, pass it around, that's fine. If you're
Terry,
comfortable with
can you go
that.
back one more? Thank you.
That is a close-up, and it shows the gutter on top of the existing cornice.
Like I said, I believe you. It's just so strange, yeah. You're probably right.
It's so cute.
Up there. Yeah, especially since it has kind of the corbel at the one end. It's at both. It is okay. It just kind of doesn't read in this one.
No.
Yeah.
It's a all right. Yeah.
So I think that would be the only, to have the gutter sized appropriately is important, but I think it would be good to work with staff to do a couple site lines just to make sure you're not going to see the gutter from the street, which in the urban fabric is a lot easier to do because it's not like you're viewing it from a mile away. But to go back to the point that Ian brought up, because it does bring kind of the main entrance with the brick bump out and everything, my feeling is that going back with a cornice that doesn't kind of provide a top or a cap for that's different, I think looks a little.
Can you go to the proposed one more time?
Say it one more time.
Can you tab to the proposed elevation?
Yes.
Yeah, so it could be as simple as
Widening
like
it a little bit or
widening it and just pumping it up. Pump it up.
do any of the other commissioners have any comments?
My only caution about pumping it up is just to make sure that it stays within the existing corbels at either end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what you see as that line in the original. I mean, I think I'm happy for staff to look at this with them. I just think if you're gonna be, I think it's worth looking at in elevation.
Okay.
Okay, so, I'm happy to put together a motion if,
Can I make a comment? I mean, going back to the elevation. Yeah, I appreciate the symmetry. Hold on, sorry. I appreciate the symmetry. And also, I don't know if enlarging that dormer, it- it'll just make it look kind of weird to me. Um, it's so far up, I don't even know if it would really matter. Um, That's my comment.
I mean, I think that's why it's important just to do a study of it on paper and see whether it feels impactful or not. I mean, I think that's the discretion of CHAP staff. Because it, it might feel out of place, but it might feel complete. We don't know until you see it, right?
The applicant did provide a precedent in Union Square, so.
right, but that's a two-bay structure versus this is a four-bay with a predominant entrance, so.
Architecturally different style.
I think it could be merited to at least do some, sketches, kind of see how it looks, and then staff determination.
Tyree, based on your assessment from what you saw with the building, it meets the standards.
The addition of the 4 dormers meets this guidelines, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Just making sure. Just one. Okay.
So is everyone okay if I go ahead and put together a motion? All right.
Hold on one second. Are there any other commissioners that have any other comments they'd like to put forth before we make a recommendation or to make a motion towards the recommendations that have been given to us by the staff?
I'll just say that I also echo the whole symmetry piece, and the simplicity, I tend to be in support of staff recommendation.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay. Well, thank you for taking it back to the recommendations. So we have the recommendations. Staff recommends concept approval of this proposal with the final details to return to staff with the following conditions. Commissioners, you see the number 1 and number 2 recommendations and conditions to go with the recommendations. There's now a motion on the floor. Who would like to put a motion on the floor to go with the staff recommendations?
I'd like to edit the recommendation, amend the recommendation, the condition for number 1 to use asphalt shingles. I believe that that other materials beyond just having the standing seam could be investigated that give you the same kind of similar textured color scale. It doesn't necessarily have to be asphalt. And then I agree, I think number 2, I think we all agreed on. And then I would say that also that a condition for the entrance dormer be explored further. Because then that doesn't require them to do it, but just the exploration of that possibility to then be reviewed by staff. Does that get to it, everybody?
Is that third recommendation or consideration okay with the rest of the commissioners?
Question. Does that require it coming back before this, or?
Not if we put it for staff approval.
Okay.
Tyreek, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
The only other comment I would have is for number 2. I don't want to require them to replicate the existing cornice details because it is plywood. So I think as long as staff approves of a reasonable replacement, I'm fine with that.
Thank you, Peter. Tariq, may we note that, and may we note that?
In the motion. So do I need to say it since I did the official motion to?
Well, hold on.
Are we good, Eric?
Hold on 1 second. I want to check with Terry and make sure.
Hey, Stacy, has it been recorded?
Yes, I'm ready. I have it.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with the additional conditions, the motion is on the floor.
Does it need to be read back?
Which I think we should be fine, unless the commissioners would like to have it read back. So there's no need for it to be read back. Thank you. All right, cool. Who would like to begin the motion?
Well, I made the motion.
Go ahead, go right ahead. Go right
So,
ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay. Good seeing you too. Good seeing you too.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, the final couple of things we have, do we have any old business, commissioners? Staff? We will be, I promise, I promise. Do we have any new business, commissioners or staff? Any other business, staff or commissioners? Meeting is adjourned. Enjoy your day.